Let's see. Okay, I think we are live.
All right.
All right.
What's up, everybody?
What up? What up?
1 week after the public practice week.
Yep.
That was super fun. Thanks for coming, whoever came. But we had probably, was that the largest crowd we had?
I think so.
You
Yeah.
think so? Nice, nice, nice. Yeah.
I think uh I think this time probably this week we have a much more consistent baseline throughout the 5 days.
Yeah, yeah, true, true, true. I think before, like, people just kind of drop off, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense, right? It's a lot of training, the momentum because usually we talk about people uh like a lot of people haven't even um discussed in this way. So I think that was kind of like a
Mm.
new aspect of it. And I think Taylor really went hard with the transmission. I think some of the transmission was 90 minutes, more than
Mhm.
90 minutes, and people stood around,
Yeah.
which is quite something.
Yeah. I
And I
was like,
think,
man, are people gonna stay? Because this is quite long. It's like as long
yeah,
as the actual boot camp.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, shout out to a lot of people who, stood through on the 5 days, even to day six when we did the review. Yeah, so I think
Right.
in this round there was a lot of showcasing of the different talents in CC, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think during the public district, you and I would most likely participated. It's just like one of the participants.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going in with the mindset of I'm just gonna participate and let the team do their magic.
Yeah, like we
Yeah.
got Albert, we got the mentors leading different rooms, we got Taylor on transmission. Yeah, so many team members. I think that entire show, we have about maybe 110 people register for it.
Nice.
About 70 people to 80 people showed up. And then, day after day after day after that, which was
I,
quite
I
something.
I remember like the most number I was paying attention to was like 93.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
was pretty good.
That's,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's counting like our team members, our current acolytes also coming in, and new people from outside.
I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia, and in my girlfriend's house. I got one guy living like near us that used to live in her community. He joined too, and then he was
Oh
like, "Oh,
wow.
I really like those transmissions."
Yeah.
So,
Which I think we are doing something quite different with in some ways. I think it was um a lot of people reported being surprised by the level of intimacy and the
mm,
sharing throughout
mm,
the days. Because I do see maybe there is this problem we see with solo practitioners, internet Dharma, that there's not a lot of spaces that has this kind of you know proximity, right? People really
right,
being close to each other and sharing stuff.
yeah.
Sometimes we have chatbots here and there, but
Yeah. Yeah, I think that goes in line with the theme of the practice, right? I think the theme was to contact reality intimately and directly. And if I may sum it up, it's like the three ways in which we are avoiding reality that we create an exit strategy to look away from reality. Yeah. And the three ways are like insistency, right? We insisting reality to be a certain way, whether
right,
that's like, oh, I'm going to the spiritual path to practice, thinking
right,
that awakening has to look a certain way, or that this practice will lead to this and that practice
reality
will
that
lead to
we
that.
create an exit strategy to look away. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So that's one. And the second one's distancing, right? Like we're creating like a distance between ourselves and sensations or the reality. And so that could look like creating a witness. If you like vipassanalyze too hard, you like solidify the vipassanalyzer, creating a subject object split, which is like a very subtle form of resistance. The third one is fading, like even letting go or surrendering or seeking cessation, right? Could be a way for you to dissociate from experience, from reality. Yeah, and most people don't even realize that they're avoiding reality. Yeah, when they're practicing spirituality, like even if they're making progress, because they can actually be reinforcing the same samsaric loop and that catch 22 we always talk about. They could be reinforcing that, thinking that they're making progress, but actually avoiding life, reality, responsibility, relationships even more. So you might be just bypassing your whole way without even realizing it. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I think that's one of the aspect of the public work this week that I find really inspiring is a lot of people were showing up really serious about their training.
Mm.
It was
Yeah, yeah,
actually, yeah, it was
exactly.
like, this is my exit, this is how I'm bypassing.
Mm,
And some of these things are very difficult to admit, right? Because it
mm,
could mean like, oh, damn, the last 2 years, you're kind of just circling around this one thing, not
mm,
really going into it.
mm. Yeah,
Just kind of like round and about, that's why we feel that sense of being stuck or in a plateau, right? Like kind
yeah,
of like just just the same thing over and over again. And maybe for the first while, that sense of bliss or whatever the capacity to generate our experience, we have the skills to produce those things. But then we don't see that. Then we just stuck eating our
yeah,
own bottle. Like
yeah.
we produced it, and we see that, and it's just again
We'll
and again.
produce again. Yeah. Yeah. Another example I always see is people who do a lot of self-inquiry. They use the technique of self-inquiry to see through thoughts or even to create a state where there is no thoughts. That serves as a remedy to having too much thoughts, which is like one of the quote unquote diseases in modern society. We only identify, and the only thing we know is our concepts, right? But then
Mm.
we make progress doing that. But then once we insist on the thoughtless state as being like, oh, this is what awakening looks like, or creating that split between concepts and reality, again, we are insisting reality to be a certain way and creating that distance. All three ways of exiting reality are actually not really different. They're just different ways of putting the same thing, which is you're looking away, using
Yeah, it's like
spirituality to bypass. Yeah.
yeah, really like that, the analogy of blind man trying to
Mm,
feel the shape of the elephant.
yeah.
So these different axes is really, yeah, different
Mm,
different axes of the present moment, we can say.
mm,
Right. Like some would gravitate towards like trying to control, trying to fixate. So you were saying like insistent. Some
mm,
really trying to have a safe distance
mm,
or just only analyzing without feeling.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would say my exit strategy is, and this is it goes for all the infinite bras, is like going to spaciousness, like just cultivating that vast spaciousness of the awareness training or like I amness, and just go there, and
Yeah.
that acts as a tremendous buffer or peace, right? But then if you keep escaping to that spaciousness, then there's a lot of things that you're actually suppressing and bypassing.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's dangerous because those things could feel and seems like,
That's it. That's it.
yeah,
And then you
that's
keep
it.
insisting it. Right?
Yeah.
It's so real.
Yeah. And then you only live a certain lifestyle that would confirm
Right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good one too. It's like you set up the condition in order to cultivate that state, and you just keep setting up that condition. So your entire life is just geared towards like insisting on a particular state.
Yeah.
Like your friends, your family, even people you're practicing with, like they're more likely to just like be in the same echo chamber as you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I was chatting with Taylor and he say that one of the aspect that the transmission that he's producing
Mm,
is to allow people to confront their rigidity.
mm,
Like in which way do you do not have the flexibility or what Taylor calls like the plasticity, the ability
plasticity.
to adapt and mold and change
Mm,
based on a various sets of conditions
mm,
and not just becoming a one-trick pony, right? It's like you
yeah.
only know one thing and like just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Which I think we may start there and build a base out of it, but if we cannot go beyond that, then yeah, we'll get stuck in our own practice.
Yeah. Another one that I see that's interesting is people coming to spiritual path, they already have a preconceived notion of what is pure and what is impure. That's why, I released like an Albert video, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
immediately it's like, oh, this is not my kind of Dharma. This is impure. But right there, and then you are already insisting Dharma should be pure in this or that way based on your own view, right? Or even
right.
like loving kindness meta. It's like everybody feels great doing loving kindness. Like you can't go wrong with loving everybody, right? But then even like insisting on saying loving kindness can be a way to not see, I guess, the negative side of reality, right? Because I don't know, the
Yeah, or just
unconditioned
like
includes like
won't,
both
yeah,
love and hate, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you would not accept evil as a part of reality, so then you end up demonizing a set of people that doesn't accept loving kindness. But then you don't see how that very thing, insisting people to love the way you love, would be the thing that,
That's creating the separation, the
yeah,
split,
creating
right?
separation and
Yeah.
creating evil in
Yeah.
that way. It's like,
That's the one that's creating evil. Yeah.
yeah,
And then we externalize, right? We externalize whatever we think is impure. And then we blame it on the world, blame it on this teacher, that teaching. And then we further like reinforce what we think is the right way.
yeah.
Yeah. That
I
pretty
think,
much sums up most people's path,
yeah,
unless they have a team of co-practitioners, teachers that creates an immediate feedback loop.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what
I
we're gonna
think
talk
that
about.
the fading exit could also be very interesting because we feel like, the surrendering, the letting go, like you can't go
Mm.
wrong with
You
that.
can't go
Just
wrong
like,
with that. Yeah. Yeah.
but then you don't see that you let go of your agency, let go of
Mm.
your ability to choose or make decisions.
Mm.
And before long, we kind of like just become a passive observer in our life,
Mm.
even if it feels good.
Yeah.
But then we're
Yeah.
trying to see like, oh, when, some crisis happens, then we'll see how little ability we have to choose and dictate our reality. We
Mm.
can only, do so much because we've been fading for like a few years.
Yeah. 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 See, a lot of people without the right view, they hear this, they will automatically assume that, oh, there's no practice to be had, right? But practice is not the problem, right? It's like your relationship to it, like you view about it, practice is a necessary stepping stone, right? But you have to like investigate clearly, like sort of the ontological roots of each practices, right? And once you cross over to the river, other side of the river, that you have to put the boat down, right? And then if you have the right view, those very exit strategies becomes like entry points, like
Right.
immediately. Yeah. Yeah. So
So
like
then you can have skillful
skillful
navigation.
maneuver. So all the stuff you're training, vipassana, self-inquiry, do nothing, the meta, they are all still useful.
Right.
But do you know what you're doing with them? Do you know the mechanism behind the practices? That's the what's important. Not practice or no practice, right? Right. It's that flexibility again. Yeah.
Yes, flexibility, I'll say if you are lacking in exertion, like you exert more without making it into an insistence.
Mm, yeah.
Like if you're lacking the ability to take a step back, have some proper distance so you don't, become too enmeshed, then you take the proper buffer.
Yeah.
Like all these different skills now, all these different exits now become skillful entrance to,
Entrance. Yeah.
yeah, to navigate a present moment with all the varieties of it.
Yeah.
But maybe we can, so this is, we're describing public practice week and all the content that comes with it. I also put in the uh, description a link so people can go and find that public practice week materials. They can sign up for that if they happen to miss it.
Mm, okay. Cool.
Yeah. But maybe also we want to take this space to also, talk about kind of like the bigger problem of internet Dharma, of how
Mm,
this whole space is generated in the first place.
yeah.
Because we were taking a lot of people here that identify as being a solo practitioners. Maybe they join retreat here and there, but the vast majority of their path is just distance learning. So
Mm,
like books, courses, online materials, that's like YouTube videos or blogs, posts, or whatever. And this got a lot of more people on the path trying to
mm,
figure it out and all these things. But now we actually also like maybe a few years into this kind of doing CC and guiding people, walking with people through their path, we're starting to see a lot of patterns of certain limitation
mm,
and also like the hidden dangers. Because a lot of times we may only see like the highlight reels or people who made it, but
yeah.
not all the stories that, like the spiritual emergency or like the crash and burn stories or whatever. So it's actually a really big topics that I think more people should be aware of
Yeah.
the actual texture of the path.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bias already, right? If you like, for example, I make videos about awakening and I even put my like own awakening journey out there. But the reason why I did that is because like I did the thing in terms of like, okay, self-emptiness or non-realization. We're like, okay, no, Frank practices solo. I must can do it too. But I don't know. Do you think it's common for people to just practice solo without teachers to make that breakthrough?
So since March until now, we've talked with a lot more practitioners out there, right?
Mm,
I think a lot of people feel like the frustration of not having a clear direction, and
mm,
maybe because of their life situation. So they have a problem of like they want to practice and they're very determined, but there's just no clear direction.
yeah, no clue. I think I just got lucky. Yeah, I just got lucky because, my parents set up a right condition for me to just do this. I don't have to go to a 9 to 5. And also because I think I have a lot of energetic warmth power to like break through views, even if I don't really have the right view, like, intellectually or even yogically, but like it's just like
Right.
I just break through. But that strength actually became my weakness after a while. So even I had blind spots too that I couldn't see until like, I started practicing with people. But yeah, I got lucky. I didn't die, or I almost died a few times, like physically died. Didn't go insane. I went insane a few times, but I wouldn't recommend my path like to anyone actually. Actually, I don't think anyone should emulate anyone else's path because every single being and seeker is so unique, right? Like we all have our
Right,
own like wiring and disposition. There's no cookie cutter programs out there.
right.
Yeah,
It's like even if we say we can draw a map of like when you practice like this would
mm.
happen, but it would happen in a particular way for that
That
individual.
person, yeah,
Maybe like the negative emotion come up for one person, it could be sadness, for the other person
it's a
could be
bliss. Yeah, or yeah. Or when conditioning come out, this person can experience as bliss. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then like different response to it. Some people will try to fight or like a lot of
Mm,
resistance. Some people will try to like freeze or flight,
mm.
just get the heck out of here. Or some people like
Like me,
in
it's
terms of
like
bliss, just
fawning.
fawn
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah.
Just make
I
it a thing.
actually, yeah, fawning was such a big one. I didn't even realize I was fawning until like you pointed it out one time. I thought that fawning is actually
A sign of
a
progress.
sign of progress. Yeah, yeah, but it was a sign of progress like 2 years ago when there was nothing going on in the path, right? But then once you start having breakthrough, once you start fawning, you're like, oh yeah, I am making progress. But you were at that time. But if you continuously fawn without even realizing that, that becomes the obstacle that's creating that separation. Because now you only look for experiences that are like mind blowing, that makes you fawn.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
and avoid all the other ones. Then you're not
That's
being
interesting.
intimate again. Yeah.
That's one of the insistence pattern we notice in the public practice week attendees, which is they want to reproduce their previous state. Like
Oh
one
yeah, yeah,
time they
yeah.
had a breakthrough, now they want to keep doing that, but they don't know that the condition which led to the breakthrough is
Completely
not the
different.
same one that
Yeah,
you're trying to reproduce right now. So
yeah,
you can't
yeah,
do it like that.
yeah. Mm. And also that comes online because you have this insistency on cause and an effect too. It's like we have this
Yeah.
linear ways of perceiving reality that's like cause and then effect, right? But then cause and effect, there is already a separation between cause and effect. Not saying that reality didn't exist conventionally, but once you go beyond, you see cause and effect as being inseparable, or even the cause is an effect and vice versa, then the entire approach becomes different. Yeah. So those little subtle views that leads to how you practice and even the result of your practice
Mm.
that are unexamined. And I think Tyler really goes into that stuff like right from the get-go. Like, how are you even ontologically structuring your practice before you even apply any technique?
Right.
Yeah, but that's never pointed out to anyone. And but the tricky part is you cannot see your own view because it's literally your entire reality. You cannot see it unless you get lucky, like a huge dose of psychedelics, some like crazy like near-death experience, or you have a teacher that pointed it out to you or practitioners. But most of the time, we can't see our blind spots. So what
Yeah.
to
It'd
do?
be like pouring air to the bird or pouring water to a fish.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
So
you're just immersed in it. You don't
yeah,
see it anymore.
yeah. So what to do? How do we offer a solution?
Right. So we were breaking down. I think public practice week was a demonstration that there is a way to, create a cohesive learning ecosystem. Because now we're saying that this problem comes from the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha combo has
Mm-hmm.
been disjointed.
Mm-hmm.
So, like now, maybe people follow you, people follow whoever they consider to be a realized being, and that realized being will produce materials online. So they would have access to a certain Dharma, right? They would have access to a certain teachings that is out there. But classically, the context for that combination was that you don't just
Mm-hmm.
get the Dharma out of nowhere. You have a relationship with that teacher. You follow that being for a while. You and the teacher develop a relationships so that you got very personalized instructions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as you apply those dharmas, you also apply in a sequence. But you don't try to eat the whole path all at once. Maybe some people can do it. Most people can't. Most practitioners require a continuous development program.
Mm-hmm.
So you got the teachers that give you instructions, that know you, and then you got the Dharma that laid out in a sequence, and you do all this thing while surrounded by co-practitioners, right? I think the problem right now that causing all this situation is that this combo is broken.
Mm-hmm.
It's disjointed. So, this is one of the things that we see as the challenge of, people like you, people who communicate about the Dharma, which is you can't really control the order or the sequence of how people consume your materials.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe right now they're still asking you questions about a video that was produced 5 years ago. And right
Mm-hmm.
now you don't necessarily agree with that anymore. But
Yeah.
they're like, so how does this make sense again? And they
Mm-hmm.
can't like actually go through the entire journey with you in that way, right?
Yeah. Or
It
if I
can
produce a
always
video
come.
that worked for me in that particular
Yeah,
phase
yeah,
of my path, and then they watched the video when I was going through that, which worked for me, but then that technique maybe was already self-invalidated like 2 months later.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this out of context thing could be really a big problem
Mm,
because then it become a challenge of trying to fit that map and that description
mm,
into this person's journey. It may not fit. It may not
yeah.
fit. And you
Yeah.
go crazy with trying to make it fit.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if they're like, hey, Frank, can I have a call with you? Right. Like I talked to them once, right? I can't
Yeah,
know everything about you talking to you once. Like I talked to a client once, like an hour, right? In the entire year. Maybe the next time he comes back to have a call with me, it's a year later. But then like the kind of feedback loop in CC is 24/7 with like 10 mentors or like 20, I don't know.
yeah,
It's like one many. Yeah. So that's already like a huge gap. That is if you get lucky to talk to someone at all. So most people don't even talk to anybody. They just watch videos. They watch a
right.
bunch
Yeah,
of different videos from a bunch of different people and they try to string it together. But the way they're stringing things together is based on their own conditionings and their own patterns. The way they pick what kind of Dharma they're going to practice, that
yeah,
also comes from their own like view, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Their own tendencies and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so it's like one simple question, which is where are you gonna find quality feedback, right?
Mm,
That's the whole challenge right now, which is you may have access to, like all the materials from the highest to the uh, introductory beginner level, but where's the feedback? How did you know? Like, sure, we can say like you trust in your experience, direct experience will tell you, but really, if we've been through the path a couple like been through a couple cycles of the path,
mm.
whenever there's that opening, it feels so convincing that this is it.
Yeah, yeah.
So convincing.
Every opening feels like this is it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So what about people that, go to like, I don't know, Michael Taft's retreat, or they actually practicing with a group of people for like, I don't know, once a week, or maybe you go to a retreat for like a week. They sit together with the sangha, with the teacher.
yeah.
Does that work? Or like,
I think that can really work. I mean, like there's a lot of teachers out there that produce a
mm,
lot of materials that's very like earnest about their their teachings.
mm,
Lama is also one of those people. I've joined a couple of her calls, but I think the main challenge with those containers is just not very accessible. So
mm,
either you have literally to be physically there, which means you have to move your life to those
mm.
teachers,
Yeah, you got to
where
go to the mountains if you want to see a La Manina.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like you have to just physically move. So some people can make that deal, but I think a lot of practitioners nowadays, we got jobs, we got responsibilities,
Mm,
we got family, we got things that would naturally feel like a disadvantage that you
mm,
can't access these things. So you only have like 2 weeks out of a year to be able to meet those teachers, which is
mm.
like still better than nothing, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, definitely.
But it's not the kind of, so it's like you have to wait for another year maybe before you have that kind of interaction again.
Mm,
So that's definitely better, but I will still say the level of accessibility of those container is very low.
mm,
Right
mm,
now we got the other side, which is accessible all the time, but it's not very secure. So like you got forums out there, Reddit, these kind of things. But if you really put your heart and soul out in the public, like it's I don't know, like there's all kind of characters out there, right? And it's
yeah,
not in the best interest.
yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah.
they may
Yeah,
help
people
you.
talk a lot of shit online, bro.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
all sort of people are online.
Yeah.
So
And also,
it's
I would say if
definitely
the way you present yourself online is always going to be filtered. Like
right,
you can talk about your experience, you can go to ATR or whatever, but then you want to be perceived a certain way, right?
right, right,
And
right.
then
True.
most people aren't like 100% honest, even if they don't know it. Yeah, because they
Yeah.
still want to be part of the community, or they don't want to seem
Yeah, there's
stupid.
certain
Yeah,
etiquette. You
yeah.
kind of there's certain rules of
Mm.
engagement, things like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, or like if they share information out there, it's out there for good. But like we have like Zoom, right? I don't know. Our system is Discord, and it's like
It's
they're
secure.
also
Yeah.
more secure, where you can just share anything intimately, and people do share a lot of intimate shit. Yeah, it
Yeah.
feels safe.
It's like I would say we draw a parallel between you need a kind of container that's allowed you to go mad dramatically, right? But like you shouldn't go mad on like YouTube.
Yeah,
Maybe not everyone can go mad the way you did,
yeah, yeah. That's why I
right?
say I got lucky. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then where are you gonna find places where you can allow you to break down, cry, process
Mm,
things? A lot of therapeutic modalities provide that, but they also
They
don't
don't know about
gravitate.
non-duality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't gravitate towards awakening, non-duality,
Yeah.
seeing through the
The
nature of
self. Yeah.
reality. So container problem. I think that's also tied to a problem that I talk to a lot of people coming in our way, and they report that they feel like they live a double life.
Oh, yeah. Right. 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 Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they got their one life, which is like 9 to 5, very conventional, keeping on together, but like they cannot share about practice, about
Mm,
awakening, about
mm,
spirituality. Feel too crazy. Are you in a
yeah.
cult? Things like that, right?
Mm,
Where they have the other life here, which is almost purely online on the internet. They have
mhm,
some friends, but this is
mm,
barely any supporting structure.
yeah.
So they can't bring these two things together.
Yeah. Right there already, there's a split between like spirituality and mundane life, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I would say even if you have a community of people that practice with you that you can really connect with, a lot of the times you only connect with them like on the cushion, or even you only connect with spirituality like on the cushion. Like once
right,
you're off the cushion, the modern life is not very supportive of the spiritual life, to be honest, right? Even if you read Daniel Ingram's like pragmatic Dharma, it's still quite difficult, to be honest,
yeah.
to
It's like
practice like Theravada in the modern
mm,
context. You can do it, but you're always gonna have to like cherry pick. I feel like it's never completely integrated in a way where there's just absolutely no distinction between like on and off the cushion. Yeah.
I think Mei Chang made a comment about this, which is there are a lot of teachers that do not teach or even touch on the topic of karma.
Mm. Yeah. No, almost no one talked about karma.
Like, how do you actually work with the karma of the modern beings?
Mm.
Like understanding the way we get distracted, the way we
Mm.
get addicted to all these,
Yeah.
social media, all the new games, chasing approval, all the turbulence, AI, and all these things,
Mm.
which
Yeah,
is,
our mind, modern mind is completely different than the monastic mind, or even if you practice it as a layman in India, like 50, even if like 20 years ago, it's very
yeah,
different karma, right? And then again, if you try to emulate that, you're going to run into discrepancies and you're going to be
yeah,
confused, right? Yeah. So that's what the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, modernity is, right? BDSM, like the modernity also, it equates to like mating, money, or
yeah,
marriage, like everything in modernity is included in our invisible monastery, so to speak. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's very challenging, right? Which is how do you take this path? Do not try to like go into some sort of glorious path where, the practice is more pure, people are
Mm,
more dedicated, or try to jump into the future where some sort of
mm,
like utopian
mm,
ideal, like if you can share this with everybody, then the world would be a better place. Like,
mm,
just stay right at the point of contact. What's
mm,
going on with your life right now? Do
yeah,
not try to bounce out of it.
mm,
And I think like the entire methodology of CC is based on contact. Like,
mm,
see how you're making contact, see how you're trying to exit the contact, and through all the training of the 12 weeks, right?
yeah. Yeah, because a lot of times it's when we reach the edge of our fitness that we either bounce out or we just like cycle back, right? So yeah, yeah, it's just staying at the edge. But then how do you provide a container in which you have a support in which you can stay at the edge and then make that quantum leap?
Right.
Yeah. Without either falling back to your previous view or being too scared, just looking away, exiting. Yeah. And
Well,
that's
let
very
me ask you
challenging.
this.
Yeah.
Based on your observation, do you think the way we train in CC bootcamp is more, I don't know, aggressive than how people train out there?
I would say yes and no. It depends on what you mean by aggressive. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because like if you go to a 10-day retreat, it's very aggressive, right? 10
Right,
days you
right,
can't
right.
look at your phone, you can't look at other people, you can't speak. It's 10 days of like exertion. But then after retreat, again, we're gonna have a very difficult time integrating, or we're just gonna try to go back
Right.
to the retreat mode, try to insist on equanimity and try to always observe your sensations. Whatever the retreat calls to do, you're gonna try to continue to do that. Right. But then with us, it's intense in a way where it's more consequential, I would say, because like everything in your life becomes practice. The moment you
Mhm.
realize that you cannot use Dharma, or even after you realize self-emptiness, to use emptiness to try to erase everything, then 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 I think that's the first level of what we call a disclosure. It's like, oh, solo realization is actually only the beginning.
Right.
Yeah. And then so
Like
I think a
even
lot of
if
people,
you,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
They don't
yeah,
even
even
know
if
there
you
is
practice it,
actually this is a team sport. They don't even know. But it's like, oh, if you see that my training is life training and life is just relationship, of course this is team training. of course, like even if you're around people that don't practice Dharma, that's your practice right there. The relationships.
Mm.
You're never alone, right? You can never train alone.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the disclosure level zero, like we're saying for people who enter the program, is by the end of it, they see, how much of a wall, like of a veil, they put up against other people. So
Mm.
then we have all the language of like non like NPC or people over there, blah, blah, blah,
Or
which
spiritual, what's it, non-dual zombie? That's a new one we came up
yeah,
with. Yeah.
like then we see how much of a non-dual zombie we become,
Mm. Yeah.
like how much we judge people for they don't practice. We also like fail to recognize the causing condition that make them like that. And
Yeah.
our causing
It's
condition
part of that.
is also
Yeah.
involved in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then we're not trying to get rid of constant conditioning, right? That's why we emphasize like coming as you are and like paying homage to your afflictions. Like the first thing we say is that you are the affliction. Can you accept that? That you're not trying to wake up like out of the conditioning. You're trying to wake up as the conditioning. Yeah. Yeah. We're not trying to like dissociate nor like annihilate. Right?
So you're saying that that sense of coming
That's very
to that,
intense, actually.
that's very
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah. Just admit to yourself that you are the conditioning. Because when you say you have conditioning, immediately it's a split already. Oh, there's an
Right, right,
affliction
right,
over here. I'm over here. I'm going to get rid of the affliction or observe the affliction or go into infinite space so I don't have to feel the afflictions.
right.
Yeah. So it's intense in a more ontological way. But once you can accept that, it's actually, where I stand is quite effortless. But of course, people go
Mm,
through different peaks and valleys and it can get very intense for people. But I would say the intensity is more on the ontological level and on the level of life itself.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Because I think like so the way we solve this is we bridge Buddha Dhamma Sangha to modernity and
mm,
create uh, an ecology, right? Like a system that it
mm.
works together.
That
So
flows, right?
yeah, that
The
flows.
Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, and even modernity. Everything's interpenetrating. Like if you do one thing here, it leads to all the other three elements and vice versa. But with the broken ecosystem, it's like all disjointed. They can't talk to each other. Yeah.
Like for example, like so many people in our communities are, entrepreneurs. They run their own business.
The
They run their own
fathers,
projects.
yeah.
Fathers. They have families to raise. Children. They are being a role model to. They are artists. There are a couple of people that are artists. Have their art projects. All
Mm.
these karmas are then flipped into these pure qualities.
Mm. All the karmas flipped into dharma. So like actually your own project over there, which you thought was against spirituality or not pure, whatever the case is, actually becomes the dharma. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you're starting to see what is the point of the affliction, right?
Mm.
What purpose that it solve,
Mm.
that you keep getting addicted to certain things, right? That you keep laundering, like we're saying, laundering your karma through certain routing.
Mm.
So we're saying that we can do that because we set up this structure of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha in modernity.
Mm.
So the structure of Buddhas in this case is realized being that you can see evidently that they can transmit, they can open up a space for you
Mm.
to enter to face yourself.
Mm.
Like if people are curious what that feels like, it's very different from guided meditation. I would
Yeah.
say very different from guided meditation. They can check out the Public Practice Week materials to see what transmission space feels like.
Mm.
Because guided meditation just is one type of training that asks you to produce certain states, but transmission, like you say, is ontologically more confrontational.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes you face your being,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Opening up the space, you face your dome. In that domain, you face your being. Within that, then now you're starting to see what you need to work on. So the Dharma aspect, the teaching aspect, is sequentially what is the model that you need to work week after week after week after week to get to a certain level of fitness.
Mm.
We're saying that's yogic fitness and like view refinement.
Yeah. Or like relational fitness. Yeah. We don't
Yeah,
really measure things so much quantitatively, more like what kind of result can you produce in life? Like there are genres available, but we don't really measure ourselves based on like specific genres, like a lot of the practitioners out there. But we kind of measure based on fitness.
yeah.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
are a couple
But then that
practitioners.
shows up, but that manifests in what you do in life, right? Not to the practice itself. Yeah. Well, of course, the practice itself also measures fitness, but it's not limited to that. Yeah.
I was saying that there's a couple of practitioners that come to CC Bootcamp that they can really do the jhanas, they can really
Mm.
go into spaciousness or things like that. But then they start to see that become an exit strategies,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they keep on going to the jhanas without actually feeling the other emotions that they have.
Mm. And the other part, side of their muscles that's not in the genre, that's not producing genre becomes very weak actually. Yeah, they're really good at producing genres, but when they go off and their wives start yelling at them, unless their mind would immediately just try to produce genres, but that's not gonna always work, right? And or like the muscles that you really need to develop in order to face these difficulties in life actually atrophy because you spend all your time developing genres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then view refinement is what truth we take to be unquestionable,
Mm,
and then we start to question them, which is very, very confronting, right? Like
mm,
things you deem to be like that cannot be. It must be this way,
mm,
right? And we're starting to see how that sense of it must be this way is such a conflicting force that's just trying
mm.
to box reality in
Yeah.
and allowing, you know, a cutting through to happen.
Mm.
A
Yeah.
very, very precise cutting.
Mm. Yeah, with the view is interesting because it's like you continuously aggregate a certain way, and that every time you aggregate, you enforces like the geometry of your view over and over and over. Yeah,
And the
and
last
it's
part of the sequence here we're saying is like co-practitioners doing this
mm,
together. So in the discussions, one view versus another, and they
mm,
start to clash, we have
mm,
interesting experience.
yeah,
Because if you only practice by yourself, how would you be exposed to, views that are contradictory to what
yeah,
you believe in?
yeah,
But also not like going at like, like talking to trolls online. They
yeah,
just want to make you mad, right? But like this is people who want to have a conversation, wanted
mm,
to really sort things out with you.
mm,
And that could be a very interesting experience to look at the side that you deem to be wrong, evil, or whatever,
mm.
and hear them
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah. I think another thing worth mentioning is that when you are watching other people's view getting poked, you can feel like you are getting pinned too.
Right,
So
right.
that's why like one person's affliction started to reconfigure and recondition. Another person who have similar patterns of karma, they can also go through the same process of reconfiguration just by yoking into each other's mind streams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like if you see someone walking through anger, and you're starting to reflect your relationship with anger.
Mm, mm. Yeah. Sometimes with like one person crying and then start saying like I'm dealing with this or that issue, and people are like, oh my God, I can relate to that. And then like all of a sudden they feel like that condition just kind of got repatterned just by one person like was brave enough
Right,
to cry. Yeah. That happens a
right,
lot.
right.
Yeah. Or shared experiences. Sometimes, we have same dreams or like, I don't know, just have same visions. Pretty interesting. Mm,
I think there's also, although we say it's a boot camp, yes, but we also factor in that, it's very difficult. And there will be points during the program that you want to quit, you don't want to be there, you want this to be over with, or whatever ways you want to resist, right? And we actually factor that in that, okay, in that time, chill out, we slow down, you're in the marginal fitness, like you're
mm,
at your edge. And now it's time to like slow down, really analyze it
mm,
and allow that to open, open, open,
mm.
open. Like it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just like grind your teeth and try really hard, right?
Yeah. We talk about the relationship between like exertion and exhaustion, right? Contraction and expansion. But how do you know if you're practicing by yourself when to push, when to pull? That's why if like athletes need coaches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're also talking about a very particular type of practitioners, right? Maybe at the beginning of, the path, you can just practice by yourself,
Mm,
just building good habits, sitting down, feeling into your body, having some time for yourself. Do that for a couple of years. I would say that after that, when we really starting to get into this territory that's like mind-bending, uncommon, you can't really
mm,
even talk about it, it's very difficult to put into words, then it's become extra sensitive to, get some good feedback structures and get some good supporting structure around you.
mm. Would you say that we're pretty much looking for practitioners at that level or at that phase where they, went to a couple of retreats and maybe have a couple of openings, but now it feels like they're reaching a plateau or something?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think a lot of the members that come to us have that kind of profile. But there's also, people who, whatever
Never
reason,
practiced that much. Yeah.
haven't practiced that much,
That
but
could be an
they're
advantage.
ready.
Yeah, yeah, because they don't have as many like preconditioned view about spirituality or techniques they can't let go of.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because there's the other side, which is people who done a lot of retreats, doing a lot of things, but they have a very fixed idea,
yeah,
about what this whole thing is, and it's
mm,
very difficult for them to unlearn.
Yeah, I remember there are practitioners who would not stop doing either like self-inquiry or noting, even though we don't even talk about these techniques.
Yeah, it's
And
just
then just
autopilot.
to get them to see that is already progress. It's like, hey, can you just not note for like for a little bit? And then they start to see their pattern getting like, reconditioned. Because that noting becomes its own pattern, right? Right. Yeah.
I think that's what happens when a lot of our practice goes from the sense of I should be doing this.
Mm,
I should be noting. If only I'm gonna note more, then I'll develop the concentrated power. I'll be
mm,
able to catch all my thoughts, my
mm.
sensation, and then I'll be able to see the characteristic, and then I'll be able to cycle realization, and then I'll be able to
Yeah. You
all
see
this.
that right
Yeah,
there, that view, you see how that's creating the split already so many times? It's like
yeah,
that right there is what's keeping you from contacting reality directly. Yeah. If I just do this, like, yeah, when, of course, you never get there.
yeah. Or whatever, right? Noting,
Yeah.
vipassana, or like constantly trying to zoom out to look at
Mm,
like what's observing this
mhm,
constantly.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of times I think it takes people with that kind of momentum, about maybe even half of the boot camp, just to slow down and finally
Mm.
be themselves.
Yeah. That's why we say that the first 6 weeks are just stabilizing the mind and just getting to know yourself,
Yeah,
getting to know other practitioner. And then the second half, the second 6 weeks is more about like reconstruction and deconstruction, right?
yeah.
And now you
So
can
really,
start deconstructing. Yeah. Yeah. Now you create the
it's
right
like
condition to really deconstruct.
because we have practitioners that also want to go in and just very gung ho and
Mm,
want to deconstruct right away, right? But
mm,
like they are very dysregulated. They need to
mm,
slow down and really allowing the moment to hit them,
mm, mm,
right? Really allow feelings to land. Because we also have people who haven't had spent so much time in their somatic experience.
mm,
That's my case of like, oh shit, I spent so much time doing inquiry and thinking about this, observing this, but like just sinking into the body, that's
mm,
still lacking.
mm,
And I
mm,
can see how every time things get a bit intense, I would go into my head.
mm,
So just the kind of anchoring down, the kind of grounding exercise or intention of the first couple of weeks is something that we can always improve upon.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, even after like 4 or 5 boot camps, I still get a lot out of like the first few weeks, like just earth element.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
there could be just layers of feelings or experience that
Mm,
previously was not accessible, right?
mm,
Like we forgot that it's there, we
mhm,
suppress it, or we just bypass it. Like it doesn't matter.
mm. Yeah, we're so nuanced and subtle we can't see it. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think one of the things we always emphasize, especially like with like the whole view of refinement business or studying philosophy, is like precision.
Yeah, precision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
precision is like a really important thing. Yeah, yeah.
So in this way, I
Mm.
think so we got the training models that take us through this. You were saying that also we have a team of mentors. So we actually have a
All of
model.
them realized.
Yeah, all of them realized. Yeah.
All the mentors I realized.
Yeah. So many on one situation where you have one, we call them acolyte, a person on the path gets surrounded by mentors. So
But the
all the
mentors are
mentors are
also
looking,
training by,
yeah, the mentors are
coaching the
also
acolyte. That's
training.
their training. Yeah, yeah. So it's like a co-arising relationship.
Yeah. So all the mentors are training to how do we point out the blind spot for this person, but not destabilizing them too much,
Mhm,
while also encouraging and empowering them to lean into the edge, right? So all these structures, supporting, challenging, empowering, checking for arrogance and pride, and all these things, blah, 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 wrapping
mhm.
around.
Or just being friends. Yeah, or
That's
just
what
being
friends do,
friends too.
right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we call each other out on our bullshit, but also we
Mhm,
lift each other up
yeah,
when
yeah.
like we're being too hard on ourselves.
Mm,
So we got that two model. And the third one, which is saying like the accessible and secure container, which is why we are looking for practitioners who have, dedication, who want to do this.
mm,
And we purposefully select very little so that we can really work with each individual thoroughly,
mm.
comprehensively throughout a 12 weeks program.
Yeah. Yeah. We're looking
So
for people
those
that are
three,
already about it. Like, they already have the right conditions for this work, like in their lives. Like maybe a
yeah,
steady job, relationship. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
No Dharma bombs here.
No Brahma bums. Yeah. Like there's literally a lot of folks that, we youngers in their early 20s coming into the boot camp and have been kind of using the Dharma to have
Escape.
the idea about, if I realize this, then oh my
Then I will
God,
become like a useful member of the society.
yeah. And then at the end of the boot camp, it's just like, oh shit, I need to get a job.
What if being a useful member of the society is exactly what you need to see through your own bullshit or to feel, right? Yeah.
Could be very hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's the intense part. That was what I was talking about.
oh, the kind of like you
Yeah,
have
being
to
honest. Yeah.
being honest. Yeah,
Being
yeah,
brutally honest. Yeah, that's the intense part. Because you can be dishonest and still like go to like 30-day retreats, right? Like a lot of people don't have that intention. I want to be dishonest, but just they just don't know, right? Yeah,
yeah.
just
Just
exerting to the wrong direction. Yeah.
right, right, right. Yeah, exerting in the wrong direction. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, what if we are exerting in the wrong direction? We're putting a lot of effort in. Um,
mm,
yeah, because that's one question which I think kind of circle back into a lot of conversation. People may not say it out loud, but they may
mm,
thinking about like I'm practicing by myself. It's fine. Why do I need to spend time here? But like, what if you're exerting in the wrong direction
yeah.
and you only recognize that when we hit the blind spot? So it's very
Mm,
challenging,
mm,
and not even trying to put the shame pressure to draw sales in this way. But it's really tricky if we're starting to see how sneaky the
mm,
kind of coping mechanism and there's only this way the ignorance wrap around.
mm. Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't like you don't even have to join CC.
Mm.
Just do whatever you can to get quality feedback, therapy, developing a sincere relationships with people around you, whatever. Build your own community in that way.
Mm. Yeah, we talk about ignorance as just ignoring reality, right? A part of it's always ignoring a certain aspect of you to like insist on another part. That's why ignorance is. But then can we take full ownership of the entire situation, which is the same as surrendering? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So our bootcamp is open. If people want to apply, right now is a good time. We're going to start on May 25th for the cohort 9. We are looking for about 30 new members. Right now, I believe we have about 18 slots left. So there's time to apply. There's slots to apply. I also really encourage that people, if they feel that this is the direction that they feel resonating with, yeah, jump on the opportunities because I do see a lot of people have mentioned this kind of hesitation before. But so far, if they lean in, we've seen
Mm.
many beautiful stories of transformation.
Yeah, you can book one-on-ones with me, Con, or one of the mentors, right?
Yeah.
We've talked to a lot of people and really interesting to see people's paths. Yeah, yeah. And I will say that as every boot camp, it gets a little bit more like advanced. We get, the team is getting better. The practitioner coming in are a little more experienced. So like, if you don't apply now, you might not get in the next one, bro. Yeah, because like we said, like each boot camp actually feed on the progress of the previous one.
Yeah, because people stay as well,
Yeah,
right?
people
People
stay
stay.
and the whole team get better when you practice it and you'll get each other's mind stream. It's sometimes I just like download my streams now. It's just like, what's my practice right now? Oh, I just listen to some one-on-one matron head with another accolade. And then I just like download stuff. Right. But then yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Let's see if
Yeah.
we have
Questions?
any time for any questions up here in the chat. I would also post the link to our application page. So if you guys can go to mindtraining.cc, you would find the details more about that.
Yeah, didn't you say that even people who may not be the right fit for whatever reason, you get like 20 people to like reach your karma. Like if you just submit an application, like there's 20 people,
Right.
mentors that would, give you advice on or like a suggestions on what to do next. Even if you don't want to join, like we got 20 people to reach your karma.
I'll say more like 10,
Just
like
10
10,
to
10 people.
10. Yeah, just that is like it's hard to like get, right? Like nobody does like karmic profiling, not really.
Right. So what Frank is mentioning about is the process of application we have, which is we have a dedicated team that's led by our head of community, which has really trained a team of people that can analyze trajectories, seen all the patterns of people coming in and how they perform, blah, 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 blah. They will be able to share with you the direction that you can take in the next 3 months, even if you don't get in,
Mm,
right? Even if you don't get in and you want, more reflections, what I should be doing with my path, what's the thing I should be focusing on, blah, 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 blah. That's
mm,
something that is available there as well, which is kind of mind-boggling about, yeah, even the act of engaging, applying in this way could point you to the next step, even if that next step doesn't align with being a bootcamp members.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah, because really starting to see much more patterns of, people have this kind of afflictions, people are working with this kind of problems, and what have worked before, what seems to be the blind spot for people with this kind of karma, and with this kind of, you know, flywheel recognition, it can really boost you to cut through the bullshit
mm,
and just straight to your
mm,
karma. Like, oh, this is what I got going on.
mm.
I guess I need to improve on this. Yeah, let's see. Um, do you have any intention for next cohort for you, Frank? Or what are you thinking about?
Oh, next cohort. Next cohort, I'm probably gonna like go to like the parallel cohorts.
Mm,
Yeah, and maybe just participate. Because I think I will have a lot more free time next cohort to like work on my own videos. Therefore, like I can actually like be participants. Yeah,
right, right, right.
yeah, I could train with you guys, wherever. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm also
I want to
looking
join D
forward.
more. Like I want to do more philosophy with Taylor, maybe. Yeah.
I'm also looking forward to philosophy with Taylor.
Oh,
That
you're
that
gonna do that too? Are you gonna do D?
I don't know if it did directly, but definitely just joining more of Taylor's material because there's so much material in CC right now that I haven't caught up
Yeah,
on, like the
yeah.
whole
There's a lot.
D training cycle,
Yeah,
philosophy, view refinement.
yeah, yeah. Hmm. What about you, man?
So philosophy training, I think I want to train more also with Tyson.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, really get back to physicality, training the body in this way, and developing a more structured routine.
Hmm.
I think yeah, a lot of this requires us to be more consistent. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
for those that don't know what we're talking about, we have like parallel cohorts, right? Like we have a cohort. It's the same transmission, but with this one cohort dedicated to just like view refinement mostly, led by Taylor, and there's another one, a new one, right? Cohort E for exertion, led by
yeah,
Tyson and Adrian,
yeah.
or
There is this
yeah,
focus that also emphasize
physical
the
exertion.
physicality of
Yeah.
things.
And then there's another one that's focused on relational fitness. Like you get put in a hot seat every week. Every week there's a different hot seat for people to like get pinned
Pin your
by
karma.
everybody. Yeah, yeah. Pin your karma, and yeah, that's interesting as fuck. Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, I guess wrapping up this episode here, problem with internet Dharma. How would you summarize it? The problem with internet Dharma,
Oh, me, just one word,
or like one sentence.
for one sentence. One word, fragmentation, maybe?
Fragmentation.
Yeah, yeah, fragmentation.
Think that's a good word. Yeah, a lot of slice and dice.
Yeah,
You got this whole package and you cut it into many pieces.
yeah, yeah.
You have one piece, but the bigger picture is lost.
Mm.
Okay, I guess we will see each other again in the next live stream. And
See you
thank
guys
you
next
guys
week.
for joining the live stream. And if you are interested in cohort 9, starting on May 25th, then the application is there for you to jump on it.
Mm.
Right. Thank you, Frank.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, boss.
And live stream here. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I'm also ending the meeting as well.